A fire broke out at the St. George's Cathedral in Cape Town in the early hours of this morning. The basement and the crypt were damaged. Now, in a social media post, the Dean of the Cathedral, Reverend Michael Weeder, said the fire was in fact an act of arson. To get an update on this story, I'm now joined by our reporter, Monique Mortlock. Monique, good afternoon yet again. What's the latest on the fire there?
What we know so far is that the police are investigating a case of arson. They are investigating the circumstances around the fire, and we know that right now there isn't much that you can see. I'm going to ask my colleague Asanda just to show you. There's police tape around the section where it's alleged or believed that someone threw something through that vent hole that leads to the basement, and it was then that a fire was started. But to give us some updated information, I'm speaking to Mr. Franklin James, who's the Cathedral's administrator, and he was one of the people who received that call in the early hours of the morning, and he was told then that a fire had broken out. So tell us about that, what happened early this morning when you received that call. What was said to you?
Good afternoon, Monique. It's at about 2 o'clock, just over 2, I received a call from our cathedral security indicating that there's a fire at the cathedral. That was obviously shocking. Soon after that, I got a call from a certain PJ from the CCID relaying the same information to me. I obviously got dressed. It was quite a nervous moment. I've never driven so fast to the cathedral in my life. So got here. The issue was access. We now established at that point that there was some fire here. Got here, and then we tried to get access through the crypt that leads to the basement of the cathedral. At that point, fortunately, there was just smouldering in the hole that we see behind me, and then we tried different areas of access, first through the crypt, but it was too challenging to get through the crypt. The spaces were too narrow for the fire brigade officials to get through there. We then went to the back of the cathedral to see if there's any damage inside the building. Established at that time that there's no damage inside the cathedral. We then came around to this space where they needed permission to break the metal bars, the security bar, in front of the vent, which they then did. Fire official went in there and they established that the fire was located right behind that wall, and they extinguished the smouldering that happened then after that.
And the damage, what is the extent of the damage? Was the crypt damaged at all?
Well, there's no damage in the crypt from what we saw in the morning hours. There was just smouldering smoke hanging there. But we've done a thorough check together with the cathedral warden to establish there's no damage there. Obviously also no damage inside the cathedral, so no significant assets or equipment damage in the cathedral. And we could normally have our services 7 o'clock and 9:30 happen per normal. So yeah, we're quite pleased that there was no significant damage to the building as such.
And you mentioned that in the coming days you'll be doing proper assessments.
That's right. That's right. So tomorrow I'm meeting the cathedral architect on site, and together with the maintenance staff, we will make an assessment of the substructure of the crypt and the cathedral, the basement. It's obviously the substructure that supports the top part. There is concrete flooring there, but we still need to make a proper assessment of if there's damage, if any.
In your time here working at the cathedral, has there ever been incidents like this one?
I cannot recall that we had an incident like that or such a significant scare now.
And you can say it's too soon to tell, but following this incident, and especially in light of what we've seen over the last couple of months, the Parliament at fire, which is not too far from here, do you think that there is going to be a need to maybe review fire policies or fire preventative policies that the church has in place, or is that something that has been discussed in the past?
Well, strangely, we had obviously subsequent to Parliament that is on top of the cathedral's agenda, and in the last week and the past few weeks we were talking about fire issues and the plans around that. And quite clearly that will be top of our sort of operational agendas to discuss fire processes, procedures, and preventative issues. Yeah.
Final question, do you think that this may have been a malicious act? As Father Michael Wieder has alluded to, do you think that there may be other sinister forces at play, or what are your thoughts on that?
Well, when we arrived here, and from the initial photographs that I've seen, and some of the videos that's probably doing the rounds by now, there were quite significant white material, which appeared to be like the inner insulating material of a duvet. And quite a significant amount of that was in front of that vent hole and inside, as you could see the fire. So it definitely would appear like a deliberate act of arson. But look, let's see what the investigation of the police delivers on that one. We can't say.
Thank you very much. That was Franklin James from St. George's Cathedral, and he's the administrator here. And as he said, it's still too early to tell or to make any type of speculations. We know that the police are investigating a case of arson, and that right now there is quite a strong police presence outside of the cathedral. Police officers are conducting a roadblock. I'm going to ask if my colleague can just show you that there are police officers outside of the cathedral. They've been conducting roadblocks for the last, at least for the last 2 hours that we've been here. We have asked them if it has anything to do with the fire. The officers on the ground couldn't tell us that, but they said that they have been asked just to be in the surrounding area. There are no City of Cape Town Fire and Rescue Services personnel, which means that for now there is no risk of the fire reigniting. It has been extinguished completely. As we've learned from previous fires like the one at Parliament, the City of Cape Town's Fire and Rescue Services will only leave a scene once they have ascertained that it is safe to do so, that there is no chance of the fire reigniting. So for now, minimal damage, as Mr. James explained, although further assessments will be made in the coming days with the cathedral's architect.
All right, Monique, thank you very much for that. That's eNCA reporter Monique Mortlock. Now,